Hello there, and welcome to a barbershop B-roll review. So that was my good friend Jade, who is a co-owner of the Punk Locks hair salon up in Green Bay. So if you're in Green Bay, Wisconsin, and you want to get a killer haircut, check out Punk Locks. And I'm jealous that you are in proximity of his salon because I would be going there every chance I could get. So I just want to go over a little bit of how I made this video, some of the successes I made, some tips that I can give you, and some of the mistakes as well. So I had made a few videos prior to this point just to get some practice in, but this was my first, I guess, potential client. Jade is a really good friend of mine from way back, and I lost contact with him over the years because I went to the Army and he followed his career path for a little bit, and then he ended up back in Wisconsin and I ended up back in Wisconsin, and we got to talking to each other again because I noticed that he was doing this hair salon, and I was following him, very interested in his work, and I loved what he was doing. And through the talking, I asked if he wanted some video work done, and he said yes. So I came up there to Green Bay, had kind of a shot list in mind. So I wrote out a few things of what I wanted to do and capture with my 15 to 35 millimeter and the 50 millimeter, and some ideas I had. But when I showed up to the hair salon, the quarters, I guess the layout of the hair salon was very tight. That's very small, comfy workspace to be in for Jade, but it got really tight when I started bringing my camera gear. My softbox was damn near touching him as he was working on a client and I was recording him. So when my shot list went out the window, I ended up reverting back to the basics a little bit to guide me through this shoot, and I ended up wanting to get a medium shot, close-up shot, and a wide shot. And from there as well, something I've learned is get the establishing shots. So I wanted to capture, who Jade was through his tools, his setup, what he was wearing, what he was doing as the establishing shots. So I think the establishing shots are just as important in video as getting those narrow shots, medium, and wide. And this helped work through the video. So at this point, I channeled my inner Daniel Schiffer and just started doing a lot of the camera movements I seen him do in his videos and practiced on in previous videos up until this point for myself, and just kind of went from there, just started shooting. And this is the difference, I guess, between an amateur and a professional, is I was just capturing everything I could before without really a plan in mind, not knowing what it was going to look like after the fact, to include shooting at 60 frames per second this entire shoot.
Stupid.
I think something that was going through my head at this point was that if I shot at 60 frames per second, I can slow down any of the footage I want, and because the clips are going to be short, you're not really going to notice that I shot in 60 frames per second, and I could just have free reign in post to figure out what I wanted to do. Well, so it took me a little bit to get back to editing this footage. I had done a few things after that, and when I went back to edit this footage, I realized, wow, this looks really weird. The motion seems weird when I wanted to not slow it down and just have regular, I guess you could say, footage. The motion was super crisp. There was no, I noticed it. I started to notice it, and I'm like, what happened? So I looked at the clips, and I'm like, oh my God, why did I shoot this whole thing in 60 frames per second? So that's a mistake. Don't do that. If you want slow motion, be intentional about it. Shoot in 60 frames per second to capture those more slow motion footage, and then stick to your 24 or 30 frames per second, what have you. So yeah, learned a lesson there real quick, but I made it work, as you saw in the beginning. I made the video. Other than that, there was a bunch of happy little accidents. There was a point in the footage where I was racking focus. I was honestly just pointing the camera where I wanted it, and it was just changing focus. I wasn't really doing that intentionally, but going back through the footage, I found a few clips that worked, and it just ended up working for the footage, working for the scene, and ended up working with the music. And that's another happy little accident. is the music. Honestly, I pretty much drag and dropped that the footage landed, and it worked and it flowed very nicely. And this happens. Does this happen to you guys a lot? Because I don't know. I'm not trying to do this completely intentionally, but it ends up working out. This is where the difference between the amateur and professional come in. Amateur is I have to try to get it right, whereas the professional just doesn't get it wrong. And hopefully I'll get to that point. And I'm sure professionals do make mistakes every now and again, but not as much as the amateur who's learning what they're doing while also doing it. All right, so some takeaways from this photo shoot is to trust in your eye that you're gonna get the right shot. However, when you do come in, especially if you have a shot list in mind, try to nail 1, 2, 3, or all of them if you can, all those shots on your shot list, and then free ball it. Go have some fun, do whatever you want, try to get some shots that you think will work, maybe not work, experiment a little, because you never know, it might end up working for you. All right, like I said, I'm gonna leave you with some things that I like doing, some things that I'm into, and maybe that you might be into too. So hey, if you're into reading, a really, really great series that I just finished with some friends of mine was The Blade Itself by Joe Abercrombie. This Castiel-looking guy right here. This book is absolutely amazing, especially for its uniqueness of character development. The entire story is delivered through 4 to 5 characters throughout the entire 3 books. And you really grow with the characters and get into their mindset, how they see the world, and the entire world is presented through their eyes and their actions. So it's one of the most interesting character developments for books that I've read in a long time, and it's full of action and I don't know, it's really just very unique book, very awesome writing style, cannot recommend it enough. So Joe Abercrombie and The Blade Itself, if you're interested in reading, that is a fun and phenomenal read. All right, thank you so much for watching this video. I really hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learned something from it. I know I did for sure, going back through and watching this video. So yeah, if you learned something, give me a like. That'd be very appreciative, and it helps the channel. And then, so I'll catch you in the next one.